Observing how others have added compounders in their money machine can be a rewarding activity and give us new ideas. So I decided to call a step in which money is multiplied a compounder, both to make it more easy to identify myself and also to make it more explainable to others. So for example, if a person earns salary and then they invest part of that salary in the stock market, they have one compounder in their money machine, the stock market, where they multiply their money. If they would decide to invest part of that income in their own education that increases their salary, they have added another step, another compounder in their money machine, because that investment in their own education enabled them to increase their salary, which enabled them to invest more in the stock market, so they could multiply their money faster. Generally speaking, the wealthier a person is, the more compounding steps they have added in their own money machine. And looking at some different examples of this can be a real eye-opener. So let's look at 3 examples together. So the first example is Gessle, and he created his wealth primarily from being a songwriter, and he wrote songs like Listen to Your Heart or It Must Have Been Love, for example. He also made a considerable income from touring with Roxette. With this money, he then invested in a hotel in Tylösand, a small city in the west coast of Sweden. He also started collecting Ferrari cars, which he placed in the hotel, which added another compounding step in his machine, because they attracted more customers, more visitors to his hotel, because they wanted to see the cars and take selfies with the cars. And while the cars increased in value, he also made the hotel a cool attraction, a cool place to visit, and more people wanted to stay there. So can you see how many compounders Gessle has in his money machine? So number 1, songs that produce income from royalties day and night. Number 2, touring and reaching large audiences while playing his hit songs. Number 3, buying a hotel. Number 4, buying Ferraris that has increased a lot in value themselves, but that also made his hotel more attractive. And can you see how amazingly more powerful this is than earning a salary and investing 10% in index funds? So let's look at another financial master, Warren Buffett, who has an enormous amount of compounders in his money machine. So let's look at an interesting example when he bought the chocolate company See's Candy. The sellers wanted a little bit more than what Warren Buffett wanted to pay, but his friend Charlie Munger, he convinced Warren to still buy it because he saw that it was a great deal. So after buying See's Candy, they started increasing the prices more than inflation each year. And they turned See's Candy into a cash flow company. And this means that they could take the cash from this company and start to invest in other companies. They used that as kind of a motor, as kind of a cash producing machine to buy other investments. So thanks to the acquisition of See's Candy, they could now buy a large part of the insurance company Geico. And what they recognized was that since Geico is an insurance company, they could use the float, meaning the money, the premiums that people had paid in to that insurance company. They could use that money to invest. And with the float, with all the money from Geico, they could start investing in other companies like Coca-Cola, Apple, American Express, Wells Fargo, and many others. So if we look at these deals from the perspective of compounders, we can find some different steps here. So number 1, the purchase of See's Candy, which led to number 2, the purchase of Geico, which led to number 3, purchase of Apple and many other big companies. Another investment legend, Charlie Munger, who was Warren Buffett's best friend and also the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, he started out his career as a lawyer after graduating from Harvard. So he started out by using his contacts as a lawyer to do real estate deals, and he also invested in the stock market. And Charlie Munger, he recognized that some of his most important assets was his time and focus and energy. So he decided to invest his most important hours in himself. He wanted to compound his mind, so to speak. So he decided to read very broadly great literature from the greatest minds of all times. So this enabled him to get a very clear understanding of how humans function. And I think this was one of the major reasons why he became best friends and sparring partner of Warren Buffett. So thanks to this dedication to his own mind and his own studies, he managed to change the way Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway was structured. Before, they used to buy lousy businesses for cheap prices. But Charlie Munger recognized that it would be much more powerful to buy excellent companies for modest prices. So if we look at Charlie Munger's investment journey, we can find some different compounders here. Number 1, law degree from Harvard. Number 2, investing in real estate deals. Number 3, the stock market. Number 4, reading and developing his mind in order to become an excellent investor and thinker, which led him to number 5, becoming vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, influencing how that company was structured. And number 6, investing in fantastic companies that grow forever, for example, Costco. So now, when we have looked at these examples, what are some ways we can add compounders in our own money machine? Perhaps we don't have a law degree from Harvard or have written hit songs, but what are some things that we can do to add compounders in our money machine? An important note is that when we look at these masters, we should not feel that we can never be as good as them or feel inferior, but we should see how we can become inspired and learn and get ideas from these people. So a common denominator between Per Gessle, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger is that they always kept learning. They never stagnated and thought that this way of making money and compounding money is the way it works forever. They always continued to change and learn to become better. And we can definitely do the same. We can save up our income and invest in high quality programs or courses to develop ourselves and become high quality individuals and learn a better way of handling our finances. And why is this so genius? Well, because most people don't have the guts to invest heavily in themselves. So the people who do it, they set themselves apart naturally. So one example of this is in my 20s, I saved up and invested in programs from a highly respectable management company and education company. And this enabled me to become much more efficient when I worked and how I planned my week and my day. So every day after that, every week, I get more out of each hour I work because I'm a better planner. And investments in myself have always been the lowest risk investments because they typically have the highest yield, they have the highest return on investments because we can utilize them for such a long time. We get more out of each hour of work. And another simple way we can do this is by reading books by great authors and thinkers. Charlie Munger, he read a wide variety of books. Everything from books about the Stoic philosopher Epictetus to books about finance, psychology, and history. And this enabled him to become a very intelligent and thoughtful person. And he became more rational than others and was able to make fewer mistakes than most people do. And making fewer mistakes is something that is very important when it comes to investing. We can do the same. We can start reading more high quality books to educate ourselves, so we can have pile of books near our bed and just keep them available so that we read more. So another denominator between Per Gessle, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger is that they performed in front of thousands of people. They had a leverage in how they communicated and reached thousands of people. Then you might say, I cannot do this. I am not a financial guru, I'm not a rock star, I cannot reach thousands of people. Well, we could start doing it in a small way. We could write a blog, we could record videos on YouTube, or we could do public speaking in small ways and reaching more people with our message. So a YouTube video can be watched many times after it's recorded. A blog or a book can be read many times after it is written. Another interesting common denominator is that all three of these examples were active investors. They did not invest passively in the stock market. All of them invested in areas where they have great expertise. And what does that mean for us? In my view, that means that we should invest a lot more in our own earning ability than we might be doing. This investment is closest to home, so to speak, and it will increase our earning ability, or how much money we can earn for the rest of our lives. Warren Buffett, he has also said that very few people actually reach their full potential, and in my view, a way to compensate for this is to invest more in our own education. Another denominator is that all three of these people was willing to focus and become an expert in one area. Per Gessle, for example, he spent thousands of hours mastering writing songs, performing, and becoming much better than most artists. Warren Buffett started to specialize already when he was a child, and went to the library to read about investment books and started small companies. And Charlie Munger, he used focus in the way that he was more happy to be much more concentrated in his investments. He was not as diversified as most investors are. He could be very happy with having a handful, like 3 or 4 great investments in his portfolio. So for example, in the Berkshire Hathaway meeting 2017, Charlie Munger, he wrote like this: "The Munger family owns 3 stocks. We have a block of Berkshire, we have a block of Costco, and we have a block of Lilo's fund. And the rest is little stuff." And this is way more concentrated than most investors are comfortable with. But I believe that he was able to do this because he had dedicated so much focus and so much time understanding these companies, understanding how people's psyche work, understanding how society works, so that he knew that these would be excellent investments for him. And note that this is very different from a beginner investor who goes all in on one hot stock just because they heard a stock tip. So how do we apply focus in our own life? Well, we could decide to become an expert in one field and then put dedication and thrift to follow up this commitment. Then we can become a leader in our niche. So I hope you got some ideas how you can add more compounders in your own money machine. And if you could only take one thing from this video, it could probably be to invest more in your own earning ability, because that is the most low risk investment you could do. By increasing the amount of money you can earn, you could simply earn more for the rest of your life. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next week.